Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Today we got Quentin West on here. He is an Airbnb professional, and we're going to be talking about that and some other things. How you doing, Quentin?
Good. How are you, Adam? Thanks for
Good.
having me.
I'm doing okay. I got poison ivy all over because of redoing a glamping site, and I didn't know, so
Oh
a
man.
little itchy. But why don't you give us a little quick introduction and kind of what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Quentin West. I've been in the Airbnb space for the past 4 years. We've got around 33 properties right now. Four of those we own. The other ones we do arbitrage, where we rent the property and then sublease it on Airbnb. And then we manage some properties for other people, real estate flips on the side. But Airbnb is our bread and butter.
I mean, your places are not necessarily vacation rentals. You're targeting
Yeah.
a different market.
Yeah, definitely. So vacation markets are usually they're seasonal. So you have the beach markets where you're making plenty of money during the summer, but then when the colder months come, you're not making, consistent income. Our markets, we cater more towards the insurance claims for victims of fire and flood, traveling nurses, corporate rentals for people traveling for work purposes. So we have a pretty consistent client base year round. So we don't make near as much money as those higher end properties do, but our income's consistent. And for me, I would rather have consistent good income over 12 months than peak season in the summer and then hardly anything during the winter.
How do you target these people? Because on Airbnb, it's just that people search for things. So I'm assuming you are also doing like the nurse pages and other things. Like, what are the various ways that you're getting these people in?
So a lot of different ways. But the biggest thing that I've seen that gave us traction was one, the way that I kind of got into the business was we had our properties listed on Airbnb, and whenever we had somebody book a long term stay, like for insurance or electricians traveling to the area to work, I created relationships there. So normal hosts, they'll take the booking and then that's it. But for me, I went and found the source who decided to bring these people to the area, or who placed this family that just had a fire in their home. And I created relationships there so that the next need they had, they reached out to me instead of me just throwing my property up on Airbnb and hoping we get a booking like that.
Right. Same thing with nurses, like traveling nurses, or
With nurses, we don't host as many nurses, but we do use Furnace Finder. Furnace Finder's a site pretty much specifically for traveling nurses. We use it more as like lead generation because we'll have nurses that reach out to us and maybe we don't have a property available for them at that time. But since we're using the arbitrage model, if they need like a 1 or 2 bedroom for a couple months, we can go and find another property and rent it for that short period of time that she needs it for, and make money off of the time that she needs. And then if it wouldn't make sense for us, the rest of the year is a longer term Airbnb play, then we can only sign a 6 month lease and maybe extend it month to month after that. That way we can fulfill the need. We don't have a long term liability and everybody wins.
all right. So like when I'm watching TikTok and YouTube and stuff, people are talking about this arbitrage stuff, and you go through the comments, and it's always like, how do you approach these people? Or there's no way anyone will let you do that. How do you approach these people?
I kind of had to fine tune my pitch early on because your first initiation with the landlord, your first thought is, hey, we need this property to Airbnb it. This is our plans. But landlords don't like to hear that. It kind of just creates a non professional approach. So I had to learn that, we needed to use our higher end clientele in our pitch and kind of recreate ourselves and structure ourselves as a more professional business. So whenever we're reaching out to landlords, now I approach them as we're a corporate housing company. We cater to insurance claims, victims of fire and flood, AT&T, Verizon technicians, other traveling employees. That kind of structures ourselves in their mind as a more professional company. Whereas in the beginning, when I was reaching out saying, hey, can I Airbnb your property, kind of created a stigma with them. And I mean, anybody now, you see Airbnb parties and destruction and everything on the news. So when a landlord hears Airbnb, they immediately are turned off. Whenever you approach it as we do as a corporate housing company, they're much more open to it. And then you can discuss Airbnb later on as one of your forms of acquiring guests into your property.
I really like that. So I've tried this in a few places. We have some old warehouses that are being turned into lofts and, kind of cool places like that. And I
Okay.
would call them up and say, can we Airbnb this? But my first thing was, within that was like, listen, we're going to be better tenants than anyone because we got to keep this place looking nice. Like in
Yeah.
these specific kind of things, you could even use our place as a show unit because it's going to be so clean all the time. And
Absolutely.
that was my pitch. But I really like say it again, corporate what?
Corporate housing company.
Corporate housing company sounds legit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it immediately sounds like you're getting, like you said, the electricians, the nurses in, things like that. That's sweet.
Yeah, and you also need an LLC. So when I first started, I was signing leases in my personal name, which I wouldn't recommend anybody doing. But I was a 21-year-old kid. I didn't know anything about the business or what I needed to do to protect myself. But when you approach them with an LLC, again, it creates more professionalism, and they think they're renting to a huge company, regardless of if you have 100 units or 1 unit. They just don't know. So definitely make sure you have an LLC before you start this business.
Right in the beginning, when you were approaching these people and you didn't have other ones you could show them, really, like how did you sidestep that?
So for me, I just used my past experience. So I was a full-time real estate agent before this, and I had helped people set up their long-term rental properties or gave advice here or there about Airbnbs, what little I knew. So I just kind of used my past experience as leverage by telling them, hey, I'm a trustworthy guy. I've got my real estate license. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. And the first couple of people really kind of liked that because I approached it with honesty, but also professionalism, and didn't try to make it seem like I was bigger than I was. But I think anybody can do that, really. If you're, whatever experience you have in the past, if you're a manager in the workplace, if you have a mentor, even, you can leverage your mentor's success. So I'm also a coach, and I teach people, if you don't have any kind of real estate background, use my success and expertise as leverage. So tell them that you have a mentor that's working with you to make sure that you're successful. And they've seen great success with that, just by giving the landlord more confidence that they have somebody knowledgeable on their side that can help them if they have any challenges.
You said you own 4, I think, right? And then the rest you arbitrage. Yep. Do you have to take care of the lawn and stuff, or is it case by case basis? Landlord does on some, you have to on others.
It's case by case. The majority of ours we do take care of, but we have had some in the past where the landlord just wanted to take care of theirs.
Right. So you also mentioned before we got on that you're doing this with a warehouse too. That one seems crazy to me because it's like, why is that guy who owns the warehouse going to lease it to you for you just to turn around and lease it to someone else? But irrelevant what I think. How'd that happen? What's the ins and outs of that?
I think a lot of it had to do with just being the person with money at the right time. And also the warehouse needed some work. The water hadn't been running in years. The toilets had to be replaced. Office had to be painted. He didn't know what worked or not worked as far as the HVAC system. So we ended up doing some work on the property, but it was after we got our deposits from our tenant. So we took over the lease. We're paying $6,000 a month in rent for this property. It's a 45,000 square foot commercial space. And then we sublet it to another tenant for $10,000 a month. So, and the deal was with our tenant is, we're going to take the first month rent from you, give us 30 days. We're going to rehab the property, and then you can move in. So we didn't take any of our own money. We took that money from their first month, and we painted, we replaced carpet, we fixed the HVAC system. Now, we didn't make any money that first month, but after that, we're clearing $4,000 a month on a property we don't own for the next 2 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's great. Crazy. It's great. I mean, for most people, that's a life-changing deal. My first job, I didn't make $48,000 a year and working 40 to 60 hours a week. And now we're clearing that on a property, one property that I have to do no work on. So it definitely is a game changer.
You keep saying what's the team?
So I mean, I have a pretty large team, but as far as partners or anything, it's just me. I say
Okay.
we just as my company, my cleaners, my handyman, my assistant, they all work with
Right.
me as a team to help make things happen.
Okay. Gotcha. Speaking of not using your own money, you also told me about flipping houses, and one of the deals was owner financed. Can you get into logistics of that?
Yeah. So I'll talk about two separate deals where I did some really creative stuff. But the most recent one, we put $5,000 down, me and a partner on this one. He was the money guy, I was the knowledge. $5,000 down. The owner seller financed it to us on a 5-year term. So our payment was like $450 a month if we decided to keep it. $80,000 purchase price. We put $10,000 into the property, painting the outside, painting the interior, the cabinets, putting stainless steel appliances in the house, doing some small repairs, and then we flipped the house for $123,000. So after it was all said and done, I put no money into the house. I had maybe 8 hours of work into it, and my partner and I both profited $11,000 each.
Nice. So I got to work this out verbally. They seller finance too, which means
Yep.
they've actually sold it to you. It's in your
They
name and
sold it to
stuff now.
us.
If you miss a payment and stuff, they technically get it back from you, or
Yep.
not one
Exactly.
payment, but so and they would keep everything that you had paid towards
Yep.
this mortgage.
Yep.
Okay, so
Exactly.
then it's yours to sell.
Mm-hmm.
So then you sell it, and then you just pay off the balance, or is there some sort
Yep.
of
We pay
interest
off.
calculation?
So we do have interest that we paid, but there's no payoff penalty or anything like that in the deal. So basically, they're acting as the bank in this situation. They have a note on the property for the $75,000 since we put 5,000 down, and then once we sell the property to another buyer, uh, the proceeds from the buyer that they're paying us go to pay off that remaining balance, and we keep the rest.
And how does these deals get structured? Do lawyers need to be involved? Who handles this? Like, okay, this is a loan you owe these people, and this is
Yep.
the interest rate, and this is your payments. Like, how does that all backdoor stuff happen? The actuarial math stuff, legal stuff. How does that
Yeah.
happen?
So
You good?
I mean, I structure all of that in the offer, but the attorney puts it all on file. So we'll sign a promissory note, which is basically an IOU. I owe you this much money for the property. I promise to pay it back. These are the terms. And then a note is placed on the property, just like a bank would put on it, like a mortgage, so that if you ever
Right.
try to sell the house, that note is paid off with the proceeds, no matter what. You can't get around it,
Okay.
because it is like guaranteed with the property. The property is
Yep.
the security.
Okay. And then how is the interest rate determined on an individual deal like that?
So with the offer, so
Yeah.
basically, if you're the seller, I'm approaching you and saying, "Hey, Adam, I want to buy your house for $80,000. I'm going to pay it off over a 5-year term, but it's going to be amortized over 30 years, which basically means $80,000 with 5% interest over a 30-year term. So think about $80,000 split up over 360 months. That's what my payment is going to be, which is right around $450.
But wait, if I'm missing something. The 5-year, what's the 5-year part? I don't get the 5-year part.
So it's a balloon payment. So you know how you go to a bank and they have a 30-year term mortgage.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, but it's a 5-year term. So I have 5 years to pay it off, but the loan amount is amortized over 30 years. So the payments
Okay.
are split up over a 30-year term, but it's only a 5-year loan. Does that make more sense?
Yeah. So if someone were to hold on to it, not flip it and stuff, at the end of the 5 years, they'd have to pay the rest to that person just
They have to pay the
in one lump
balance.
sum.
It's a balloon payment.
Okay. So when you're trying to do these, it's under you're knowing that you're flipping it or doing something with it.
You either have to sell it, refinance it, or pay it off in full within 5 years.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks for clearing all that
All
up.
right.
These
I
are
know that's a lot to unpack.
fresh concepts for a lot of people, and hopefully, I'm asking questions that people watching are having too, because you can say all you want, and it's very confusing.
Yeah, I know.
So
It's a lot to unpack. If they have other questions, they can always reach out to me, and I can help them structure their own deals or walk them further in detail on this one.
So speaking of talking to you, and earlier you said that you do mentor. So I did notice that you have like real estate classes and conventions and stuff. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, definitely. We do coaching for Airbnb or real estate in general. We also have a real estate investor event coming up in May. It's on May 12th. It's a full day event. We'll go over Airbnb, apartment syndication, self storage, mobile home parks, flips, everything in real estate. It's an in person event, and we will have a recording afterwards. But if anybody's local or in the near North Carolina within a couple hours, it's definitely an event they don't want to miss.
Nice. You said self-storage. Do you do that as well?
I don't, but one of our speakers does. We've got 6 other speakers, ranging from one of our guys has 62 million under management in the apartment syndication world. And then we've got a guy that does flips, wholesales, and development. He's doing around $1 million a week on the real estate side. So just some incredible speakers. Really, I'm probably one of the smallest guys on the list. So it's going to be a treat for me as well as everybody else.
Nice. And I linked down below, and all the different ways to get a hold of Quentin and follow him will be down below. What are your future things? What do you got? What are you working on now? And what do you want to be working on?
Yeah, definitely. So for me, Airbnb was kind of the first step. I was a younger guy. I didn't have any money to get started. I didn't have good credit. So arbitrage was the way for me to get the cash flow that I needed to reinvest into long-term assets. So one of our biggest goals this year is to purchase 50 units of multifamily real estate. That way we can go ahead and get our foot in the door. That will give us a portfolio large enough where we could take down the majority of the apartment assets in the U.S. And then also, we can get other people in on the deals. We can start our syndication and our fund where we can raise money to take down larger deals and also teach other people how to do the same thing. So that's one of the biggest goals. My other large goal for the year is to teach 100 people how to get their first real estate investment property. I have a huge passion for teaching. That's opened up a ton of doors for me, and I've seen the impact that it has on people's lives. So that's probably tied with my number one goal for the year.
So for me, it's a little daunting doing Airbnb and properties that are not anywhere near local to me. Do you do things mostly local, or can they be further away?
So right now everything's local, but we have had properties that are distant in the past. We had 7 properties at one time in Arizona. We had 4 in Dallas, Texas. As the markets kind of became oversaturated and the competition increased, we sold off some units. We gave away furniture. We did a lot of stuff to kind of get back to our roots. There are a lot of things that changed between right now and the time that we got started in those markets. And that's another thing that, like, the reason why I recommend a coach, even if somebody doesn't hire me, hire somebody to teach you the game, because there's so many mistakes that you can make without ever knowing that you're making a mistake. Like for us now, one of our major rules is we won't step into a new market without proving the concept ourselves first. So with Arizona, we started 7 units at one time. We spent $150,000 in a week with furniture and setup and paying people to build furniture. And within a few months, everything was going negative. So now if we had that to do over again, it would start with one property, prove the concept, make sure it's profitable, and then continue to grow from there. Not be so greedy with taking down 100 units at once.
Right. Yeah, that's good advice. We're seeing, like I said, all this stuff on TikTok and YouTube about real estate investing, and we're always seeing like you buy real estate. But there's like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's why I had all those questions about the seller financing. People don't know what they're doing, and there's a lot of people who want to get in. As they've never done it. What would you say to someone first getting into it? What's your advice?
Yeah, I mean, the number one thing is to get a mentor. Like I was saying earlier, this is not because I coach. I would say this regardless because it's something that opened up a ton of doors for me. So even if you never reach out to me, if we never have a conversation, go pay somebody money that knows what they're doing, because you're going to get 100 times your investment back just off of their knowledge. Make sure you vet them, that they know what they're doing, and they're legit, because there are a lot of scammers, but hire a mentor. The second thing is, like, a lot of people, a lot of gurus are going to tell you, like, start buying single family, buy and hold real estate. And I just don't think that's a great first play. To be honest with you, and it's one of the big reasons why I stopped buying properties and started doing more arbitrage. So when you're first starting, chances are you don't have a ton of cash flow. You're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to put into real estate. So you need to create that. You need to create enough cash flow to where you're not buying one property at a time every year, every other year. You need to figure out, something preferably in real estate, whether it's Airbnb arbitrage, flipping properties, property management, wholesaling, something along those lines that are cash flow heavy, that you can build a business around, and then later take the cash flow once you've built it up to 20, 30,000 a month, and now can go and use that money to put down on long-term assets. A lot of people make the mistake of starting out buying, long-term rentals, and 10 years from today, if they started, they've only got 10 or 15 properties because they just didn't have enough money to get started and scale that business exponentially. So they need to do something to build their cash flow significantly so they can buy more units in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. So when you're watching these other gurus, yeah, they just are telling you to buy stuff and then keep buying and da da da. But
Yeah.
you're like me. So I have a course where I sell my knowledge on party rental stuff. But like I
Okay.
tell people, like, you don't got to buy from me. You can watch my YouTube. You can watch my YouTube and this and that. I feel like you're kind of like you have a course, but you know people. You know there's scams, so you don't want to come off as scammy, which I don't think you are. Just from our conversation, I can tell like you're not just out there to get people to buy your course. But that's advice that other gurus or people are not giving people. It sounds like you want to lead people in a more realistic way and get them to a point where they want to be in a way that is more easily accessible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the way I see it, I'm not making my living on coaching. Like, I'm making my money on real estate and investing. So I don't care if they buy from me or not, but I do want to see them succeed. And the answer for them getting to all their goals and achieving those is to have somebody that knows what they're doing teach them. Like, you can watch thousands of hours of YouTube, because trust me, I did it in the beginning. When I started, I was driving 1,500 miles a week as a truck driver. All I did was listen to Bigger Pockets. All I did was listen to YouTube videos teaching me about real estate investing. Never on the thousands of hours that I listened to YouTube did I get the value that I've gotten in rooms where I've gone to listen to people or network with people that knew more than I did. I could actually ask my questions and get them answered. And I could even get things answered for me that I didn't know was a question, that I didn't know could help me in
Right.
my business,
I was,
that they spoke about, because you invested in them. The tricks that they're not going to just throw out on YouTube for free, because they are more heavily guarded secrets.
right. You don't know what you don't know, which means you don't know what questions to ask. And yeah, everything on YouTube because you just can't, and you can't think of every
Yeah.
sort of question that anyone's ever going to have. And then also, when you're just doing things, you're going to have a question that was never addressed in a video, and you can just text that person or call or email them and get the answer instead of searching for.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many conversations I've had
No.
with mentors, and I'm talking about the problem that I'm having and trying to figure out a solution, and they don't answer my question directly. It's something along the lines of, well, why are you doing it this way? Why aren't you trying to hit your goal this way? And most of the time it's something super simple, like, why are you moving backwards instead of forwards? Or it's not exactly like that, but something so simple that it makes me stop and say, why am I doing it this way? And a YouTube video will never give me an answer like that. I'll continue to search for an answer of why it's not working with me backing up when really I should be going the opposite way. And that's what one-on-one mentorship does for you. It brings to life the mistakes you're making, and the questions that you're not asking directly.
Well, Quentin, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming. I really like. I'm going to have to rewatch our interview because I keep forgetting how you approach the arbitrage people. What was that? What was that again? You are
a corporate housing company. Or corporate housing company.
Corporate housing company. I'm stealing that. So that was very valuable. I love it. I'm gonna try that next time. How can everyone get a hold of you, see your stuff, and all this will be linked down below too.
Yeah, so the easiest way is to just either follow me on Instagram at Q Deals Homes, just like it sounds, or Facebook, Quentin West. You can reach out to me, DM me. I'm more than happy to answer questions or help you get through any problems you're facing.